Hi, Dr. Matt O'Reilly of orthodoxyforeveryone.com. Today we're asking the question, what is the main point in Paul's letter to the Philippians? Philippians is a great little book of the New Testament. It's a short letter from the Apostle Paul to the church, the believers in Philippi. It's kind of action-packed, never a dull moment. Lots of really famous passages like the Christ hymn in Philippians 2, 5 through 11. Just a spectacular book. And if we want to understand it and really be able to navigate the argument that Paul is putting forth in Philippians, we need to understand what the main point is. And one of the ways that we can identify Paul's main point in Philippians is by keeping our eyes open for the first instructions that he gives the recipients. Where's the first thing he tells them to do? What's he after? What does he want from them? And that comes in chapter 1, verse 27, when Paul writes, "Only live your life in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ." Up until this point in chapter 1, he's been giving them reports about his prayers for them, how he's grateful for their partnership in the gospel and the evidence of the evidence among them that God is at work. He's told them about his imprisonment and how the gospel has gone forward even though he's been in prison. And when he gets to chapter 1, verse 27, he switches gears from those declarative statements, those accounts of what he's been up to and what's been going on, and he gives the first instruction, the first imperative. And everything he says in the letter from this point forward, and really what he said up until this point has been leading up to this imperative, but everything he says from this point forward is a substantiation of this central instruction. Live a life in a manner worthy of the gospel. He wants the Philippians to live, whatever's going on, whatever circumstances they're facing, he wants them to exhibit a gospel-worthy life. And if you see that, it makes sense of the whole letter. Consider, for example, Paul's story of his imprisonment. Here he is, and he has been jailed, detained by the Roman Empire. He could be filled with self-pity and sorrow and just kind of sit in his confinement and worry and fret over the fact that he's not out there planting churches and doing his mission. But instead, Paul sees his imprisonment as an opportunity. There are people here who don't know Jesus, and now word of my imprisonment, he says, has become known to the guards all through Caesar's household. People know I'm here because I've been preaching Jesus, and it's an encouragement to the churches. So you got Paul, who chooses not to move into a place of self-pity, but instead lives a gospel-worthy life. He lives his life in a manner worthy of the gospel by seeing his imprisonment as an opportunity for ministry. So Paul leads into the imperative, live a life worthy of the gospel, by putting himself forward as an example of what the gospel-worthy life looks like. As soon as he finishes this initial command, he's going to give some instructions on church unity, and then he's going to go right into this famous passage known as the Christ hymn, or Philippians 2, 5 through 11. Jesus, though he was in the form of God, did not consider equality with God as something to be exploited, but humbled himself and became a slave and took human form and became obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. And so you've got Jesus, and he is exhibiting the gospel-worthy life through his self-sacrifice, his self-giving love, his obedience to God the Father. Even things like the travel reports that come up later on in the letter, where Paul says, Timothy's doing this and Epaphroditus has done that. Timothy exhibits a life lived worthy of the gospel because he's primarily concerned about the interests of the Philippians. Epaphroditus exhibits a life worthy of the gospel because he risks his life. Right? He's willing to die for them if he has to, in order to engage in ministry. So if you read the whole letter through the lens of chapter 1, verse 27, and this vision of the gospel-worthy life, a life that commends the gospel that believers, that Christians say we believe, if you read the whole letter through that lens, then everything comes into sharper focus. Everything becomes more clear. And we're well on our way to understanding Paul's letter to the Philippians. Hey, thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe to the Orthodoxy for Everyone YouTube channel and click the bell so that you'll get notifications when new content is posted.